Hello everybody, getting ready to do here Math 9 Quarter 1 Week 8 lesson plans. Let's go right into our lesson plans for Week 8. And Math 9 Quarter 1 Week 8. And as per usual, students, name date here on your lesson plan sheet. And let's go right into our lessons for Week 8. And on Week 8, Week 8, yay! And then our lessons for Week 8, after our big Chapter 2 test, we go into Chapter 3 here. And we start out here at 3.1, plot points on coordinate plane, classwork homework part 1. 3.1, plot points coordinate plane, classwork homework part 2. And then 3.2, graph linear equations, classwork homework part 1. 3.2, classwork linear equations part 2, and then 3.2 homework, linear equations part 2. And do we have any quizzes or tests for week 8? I don't think we do. So our basic standard for week 8 is Common Core 9 through 12 FIF 0.7a, graph linear and quadratic functions, and show intercepts, maxima, and minima. And again, here's our basic standard. Graph, actually this is our learning targets here for week 8. Graph linear and quadratic functions, marking intercepts and end behavior, sketch square root, cube root, and exponential functions, showing domain, range, and asymptotes. And this is kind of like a real world scenario in Flagstaff, Arizona, USA. Relate graphs to a real world Flagstaff data. For example, monthly average temperature, population growth. And then for our, well, that was our intro. Now is our learning targets. 1, we're going to review slope and intercept for linear equations. F of x equals mx plus b. Graph f of x equals 2x minus 5 on class grid. Label x and y intercepts. And then as well show quadratic g of x equals the negative 0.5 times quantity x minus 4 squared plus 20 times the model of peak summer attendance at Lowell Observatory. And then identify vertex axis of symmetry and intercepts. Sketch parabola, note end behavior as x goes to positive, negative infinity, which is downward. So that's really what we're going to be doing here. Then resources and materials, same as usual. And then our modifications and accommodations, available online via Google Classroom interface. That is grades, classwork, homework, quizzes, tests, Zoom tutoring on request. Let me go right in here to week 8. We start out here at chapter 3, plot points in a coordinate plane, classwork. 34 points, 13 points of note-taking. And then 3.1 homework is 16 points, 13 points of note-taking. Again, for 3.1 part 1 homework. And then 3.1 classwork, 24 points, 4 points of note-taking. And again, this is all Common Core 9 through 12 FIF 0.7. Graph functions expressed symbolically and show key features of the graph by hand in simple cases and using technology for more complicated cases. And then we go into part 2 here, 3.1 homework, part 2, 90 points, 4 points of note-taking for part 2 homework. And let me go into 3.2 here, part 1 classwork, 28 points, classwork, 6 points of note-taking. And then 3.2 part 1 homework, 80 points of homework, and then 6 points of note-taking for 3.2 graph linear equations, part 1. Again, here is our standard down here. Common Core 9 through 12 FIF.7a, graph linear and quadratic functions, and show intercepts, maxima, and minima. And then continuing here, week 8, we go to part 2, classwork, part 2, graph linear equations, 24 points of classwork, 14 points of note taking. And we go to part 2, homework, 61 points of homework for 3.2 part 2, graph linear equations. And again, that's our FIF.7a, graph linear and quadratic functions and show intercepts, maxima, and minima. And animated PowerPoint math video at AL.com for questions, course materials. Thank you very much.